Right now, take a second and think about this. Your rent, your groceries, your medications, your utility bills. Think about how every single month feels tighter than the last. Think about how hard it's become just to breathe financially. If you or someone in your family depends on supplemental security income, this conversation is not just news, it's personal. This is about you, it's about your survival, and it's about whether help is finally coming or not. Across America, millions of SSI recipients wake up every day doing mental math before they even get out of bed. Can I afford food this week? Can I refill my prescription? Can I keep the lights on? These aren't luxuries, these are basic needs. And for years, SSI payments have struggled to keep up with the real cost of living. While prices skyrocketed, checks barely moved. That gap has pushed families to the edge. Now suddenly, whispers are turning into headlines. Lawmakers are talking, advocacy groups are sounding alarms, and beneficiaries are asking one powerful question. Did something finally pass that could boost SSI checks in a real way? This isn't just about numbers on paper. This is about dignity. This is about whether seniors, people with disabilities, and vulnerable Americans can live without constant fear. And that's why this story matters so deeply. Because if SSI is getting a major boost, even a modest one, it could change how you budget, how you plan, and how you sleep at night. But here's the thing. The truth is more complicated than the headlines. There's hope, there's confusion, and there's a lot of misinformation floating around. In this video, we're breaking it all down, clearly, honestly, and step by step. No jargon, no hype, just the facts, the context, and what it could mean for your wallet and your future. So stay with us, because what you're about to hear could impact your next check and the months ahead. Why SSI has been falling behind Americans' real lives. To understand why talk of an SSI boost feels so emotional, you have to understand just how far behind SSI already is. Supplemental Security Income was created to protect the most vulnerable Americans, people who cannot work due to age or disability and who have little to no income. But over time, the system stopped matching reality. Look around you. Rent has jumped. Food prices are higher than ever. Transportation costs more. Medical care costs more. Yet SSI payments are still calculated using outdated formulas that don't reflect how people actually live today. For many recipients, the monthly check barely covers housing, leaving almost nothing for food, emergencies, or basic dignity. This isn't a budgeting problem. This is a math problem. And Americans have been paying the price. Many SSI recipients are forced to choose between groceries and medication. Some skip doctor appointments, others rely on food pantries just to survive. And families who care for disabled loved ones often drain their own savings to fill the gap. That's the reality behind the numbers. What makes this even more painful is that SSI rules are incredibly strict. Asset limits haven't meaningfully changed in decades. That means saving even a small emergency fund can disqualify someone from benefits. Imagine being punished for trying to prepare for the future. That's why recent discussions around SSI reform have sparked so much emotion. People aren't asking for luxury. They're asking for fairness. They're asking for a system that reflects the modern cost of living, not one frozen in time. So when Americans hear words like past, boost, or increase, hearts race. Hope creeps in. Because after years of falling behind, even a small improvement could feel life-changing. But the big question remains, is this real change or just another promise? What people mean when they say past, and why it's confusing. Let's slow this down because this is where many Americans get confused and where rumors spread fast. When people say an SSI boost has passed, they're often mixing together several different things: proposals, votes, discussions, and long-term reform ideas. Not every bill that gets talked about becomes law. Not every vote means money goes out immediately. And not every proposal applies to SSI the same way it applies to Social Security retirement benefits. This confusion is understandable. Headlines move fast. Social media moves faster. And when you're struggling financially, hope can turn into panic when the truth isn't clear. Right now, what's happening is a combination of renewed attention on SSI adequacy and growing pressure on policymakers to address gaps. Some measures aim to adjust how benefits are calculated. Others focus on asset limits. Some proposals look at tying SSI more closely to real-world inflation. Each of these could feel like a boost, but they don't all work the same way. That's why it's so important to separate discussion from implementation. For you and your family, what matters most is not what's being talked about, but what actually reaches your bank account. And that's where patience, awareness, and staying informed become powerful tools. The good news? SSI is no longer being ignored. It's part of a larger national conversation about affordability, fairness, and economic survival. And that alone is a shift. But the story doesn't end there. How a potential SSI boost could change daily life. Now imagine this for a moment. Imagine your SSI check increases even slightly. Maybe it's enough to cover a full grocery trip without anxiety. Maybe it means you don't have to choose between paying the power bill or filling a prescription. Maybe it means breathing room. That's why SSI changes matter so deeply. For recipients, even a modest boost can ripple through daily life in powerful ways. It's not about excess, it's about stability. An increase could reduce dependence on emergency assistance. It could allow people to budget with confidence instead of fear. It could give caregivers a small sense of relief. And for seniors, it could mean aging with dignity instead of desperation. This is what lawmakers often miss when they talk in percentages and projections. Behind every SSI check is a human story, a real kitchen table, a real family making hard choices. So when people ask, did it pass? What they're really asking is, will my life get easier? And that question deserves a clear answer, not vague promises. The role of inflation and why SSI feels different. One reason SSI feels especially strained is inflation. While cost of living adjustments exist, they don't always reflect the real expenses SSI recipients face. Housing, healthcare, and food inflate faster than average indexes suggest. That means even when adjustments happen, many people still fall behind. This fuels frustration. It feels like the system is always one step behind reality. And when inflation hits hardest, SSI recipients feel it first and longest. That's why reform discussions matter now more than ever. What you should watch for in the coming months. If you rely on SSI, the most important thing you can do is stay informed. Watch official announcements. Pay attention to letters from Social Security. Don't rely solely on viral headlines. Change often happens slowly, but when it happens, it matters. Understanding timelines, eligibility, and how updates roll out can protect your wallet from disappointment and misinformation. Why this story isn't over yet. This is not a one-day headline. This is an ongoing story. Pressure is building. Voices are getting louder. And SSI is no longer invisible. That alone signals momentum. How your voice matters more than you think. Public attention matters. Awareness matters. When Americans pay attention, policies move faster. Staying informed isn't passive. It's power, hope, caution, and realistic expectations. Hope is important, but so is clarity. Change takes time. Understanding that protects you emotionally and financially. Stay hopeful, but stay grounded. What you must watch for next if you rely on SSI. If you or someone in your household depends on SSI, the next few months matter more than you might realize. This is the phase where confusion is highest and misinformation spreads the fastest. Headlines will sound dramatic. Social media posts will claim checks are coming or money is approved. But what truly matters is how changes move from conversation into reality. First, understand this clearly. SSI updates do not always arrive all at once. Even when changes are approved, they often roll out in stages. That means some people may see adjustments earlier than others. Some changes apply automatically, while others require updated information on file. And if you miss key notices, you could miss opportunities that affect your wallet. This is why paying attention to official Social Security communications is critical. Letters, online account updates, and verified announcements matter more than viral claims. If something real happens, it will show up through official channels, not rumors. Second, timelines are everything. Many Americans assume that if something passes, money shows up immediately. That's rarely the case. Administrative updates take time. Systems must adjust. Eligibility rules must be clarified. That delay can feel frustrating, especially when you're already struggling, but it doesn't mean nothing is happening. Third, eligibility details can change outcomes. Some updates focus on payment formulas. Others adjust asset limits or income exclusions. Each type of change affects people differently. What helps one household might not apply to another, and understanding that difference protects you from false expectations. Most importantly, staying informed keeps you in control. When you know what's coming, even if it's slow, you can plan. You can adjust your budget. You can avoid panic. And you can avoid scams that target vulnerable Americans during times of uncertainty. Because when SSI updates are real, they matter deeply. And missing the details could cost you more than money. It could cost peace of mind. Why SSI reform is suddenly back in the national spotlight. For years, SSI existed quietly in the background while other programs grabbed attention. But that silence is breaking. And there's a reason for it. The economic pressure facing Americans today has made it impossible to ignore how fragile SSI truly is. Lawmakers are hearing from constituents who can no longer survive on outdated benefit levels. Advocacy groups are presenting data that shows SSI recipients falling further behind every year, and families are speaking up about the impossible choices they face each month. This isn't just about politics, it's about visibility. Inflation didn't just raise prices, it exposed cracks in systems that were already strained. SSI became one of the clearest examples of a program designed for a different era, struggling to function in today's economy. That's why conversations around reform are growing louder. When enough Americans experience the same pain at the same time, momentum builds, and that momentum forces attention. What's important to understand is this: attention is the first step toward change. Programs don't improve in silence. They improve when pressure makes ignoring them impossible. That doesn't mean everything changes overnight, but it does mean SSI is no longer invisible. And for recipients, that visibility matters. It means stories are being heard. It means data is being reviewed. And it means the system is under scrutiny in a way it hasn't been for decades. That alone doesn't pay bills, but it opens the door to change. How small? SSI changes can create big ripple effects. One of the biggest misunderstandings about SSI is the belief that only large increases matter. In reality, even small adjustments can create massive ripple effects for families living on the edge. An extra $50 or $100 a month may not sound like much to some people, but for SSI recipients, that amount can be the difference between stability and crisis. It can mean consistent meals, reliable transportation, or avoiding late fees that spiral into debt. Small increases also reduce reliance on emergency assistance programs. They help families plan instead of react. They reduce stress, and stress has real health consequences. That's why SSI reform isn't just financial policy. It's quality of life policy. When people aren't constantly worried about survival, they make better decisions. They stay healthier. They remain more connected to their communities. This is why advocates push so hard for change. They understand that SSI isn't just a check, it's a foundation. And when that foundation cracks, everything else becomes unstable. Hope versus hype. Protecting your emotions and your money. Hope is powerful, but false hope can be dangerous. Many Americans have been disappointed before. Promises were made, headlines exploded, and then nothing changed. That emotional roller coaster takes a toll. That's why it's so important to balance hope with clarity. Real change comes with documentation, with timelines, with official confirmation. Until then, it's okay to stay cautiously optimistic without counting money that hasn't arrived yet. Protecting your emotions is just as important as protecting your wallet. Staying grounded prevents stress, panic, and poor decisions. And the truth is, staying informed gives you power, even before changes arrive. Why staying informed could shape your future. If you've watched this far, it's because this story matters to you. It's not abstract, it's not political noise. It's about your rent, your food, your health, and your future. SSI changes, whether small or significant, impact real lives. And knowing what's real versus what's rumored protects you and your family. This channel exists to break through confusion, slow things down, and explain what truly affects your wallet before it's too late. Because when it comes to SSI, knowledge isn't optional, it's survival. Stay informed, stay alert, and stay connected, because the next update could matter more than you think.